Hello, welcome back to my channel. I've done some updates to the vagrant provisioning scripts in my open source Kubernetes repository, and I just wanted to share with you the updates that I made. If I go to the Kubernetes repository in my account open source, I've got this pull request. So bump K8S version to 1.31 in vagrant provisioning. So it's not just the Kubernetes version change in vagrant provisioning. I've also done some refactoring of the code, which I've been wanting to do for a long time. So let's see what I have changed. Right, so you can see 4 files changed. The first one is the vagrant file itself. So nothing serious change in here. It's just a bit of refactoring code. So you can see here, these two blocks are quite identical. So I've moved it to the section at the top, so there's no repetition. And I've moved the IP address and network details as a variable here. So network prefix, and change the variable names here. And then the other thing is I introduced this vagrant API version where I used to use it here. So now it's again a variable. That's it. I haven't changed the vagrant box or the vagrant box version. So there's no huge change in this file. Actually, it's just refactoring the code and to avoid repetition. That's it. So that's the vagrant file. Next we'll look at the bootstrap shell script. Right, so in this shell script, the major change that you will see here is I've removed all the output redirections. So previously, your vagrant up command will look neat and tidy, so it won't have lots of verbose output. So everything is going to the dead null. Even if there's any error, it goes to the dead null. Because I had confidence in my script, because once it has worked, I usually remove all these output redirection while I'm debugging something. And if it worked, I will finalize the script and then add this output redirection thingy. So that, when you guys see, you will have less thing to digest. Since then, I've had a huge number of users having problems running the script, and then, the script fails, the kubeadium command fails. Anything can go wrong, so they've got some difficulty finding out what has happened in the background. Personally, I like verbose output. I like to see what's going on behind the scene. It's just to make your life easier, so I don't want you guys to see all those junk and garbage thing going behind the scenes. So that's why I added all these output redirection. But since there are a growing number of people who are having difficulties understanding what's going on behind the scenes, so I now removed it. So going forward, when you merge this branch, when you pull this updates, you will see the kubeadium commands and all those things that the vagrant up command does will have lots and lots of verbose output, which is a good thing, because when problem happens, when there's some issue, you would exactly know what has gone wrong. Previously, when people come to me saying, hey, see, this command has failed, I don't know why the provisioning has failed, the first thing I would ask them to do is, because they can't tell me what has gone wrong, so I would ask them to update the bootstrap shell script, update the kmaster shell script, update the bootstrap kworker shell script to remove all these output redirections. Somebody knows how to do that. Someone doesn't know, I have to tell them exactly how to do that. So just to take all those work out of my hands, the only thing is you would see a lot of verbose output. So that's about the change for this file. But there's one other important change, which is the Kubernetes version itself. So we move in from 1.29 to 1.31, which is the latest version. As you can see here, I moved that as a variable. I used a variable and moved that to the top of the file here. So K8S version. So moving forward, the next updates and all, I don't have to search where I have defined. So I can see here I've defined it in a couple of places. So I don't have to change it in a couple of places. So define it in one place and use it in many places as a good programmer. And also the other change is the root password variable. So previously I used to have the password hard-coded here, kubadmin. And now again, it's here. If you want to change the root password for the Kubernetes nodes, you can do so here. So that's the bootstrap shell script. And then coming to the bootstrap kmaster, again, I removed all the output redirection. And the other important change is I updated the Calico version from 3.27.0 to 3.28.2. And then finally, the kworker bootstrap, again, there is no output redirection now. So everything is clear. Right, so that's it. And I haven't merged it to the master branch yet, so it's still in my repository. But by the time you watch this video, I would have already merged this. So it's 1.1.31 branch. It's not yet merged to the master. So after I complete this video, I'll merge this branch. Okay, so let's go back to our terminal. I'm going to git clone my Kubernetes repository. So git clone. Right, so we have that. Kubernetes. If I open that in my editor. Right, so this is the main branch. And let's check out new local branch. Yes, so I've checked out 1.31 branch. So now we are in the 1.31 branch. If I go to vagrant provisioning, bootstrap, and you can see here these are the updates. K8S version 1.31, root password. So it looks like yes, we are indeed in the 1.31 branch. So that's cool. Right, vagrant file, everything is in here. So all we have to do is just spin up our cluster and see if it's working. So what I haven't actually changed is, so this is just for the vagrant provisioning scripts. And I think in my next video, I'm planning to update the LXD provisioning as well, because I think I haven't looked at the issues. Like a couple of people were having issues provisioning the Kubernetes cluster using this LXD provisioning script. Although when I tried it last time, I wouldn't normally leave my scripts in a broken state. If it worked for me, I really don't care whether it works for anyone. If it works for me, then I'll push that to the master branch, unless you change the Kubernetes version or anything that's in these scripts. So I think for me, the script actually worked, but still it uses 1.29 Kubernetes version. And this video today I'm releasing is just for the vagrant provisioning and quite a bit of refactoring on these shell scripts. So in my next video, I'll try and experiment the LXD provisioning scripts, whether I'm having the same problem like a few other people are having. Let's have a look. Issues. So a couple of issues. Yes. LXD provisioning. A couple of people reported issues August 23rd. Okay. I'll make sure it works. It might be due to the version that might be in an older version of Kubernetes. So I'll move on to 1.31. Okay, so go back to the terminal. We are in the Kubernetes vagrant provisioning. Right in here, I'm going to do vagrant up provider libvirt. I'm on Arch Linux machine, so I'm going to be using libvirt QEMU virtualization. And if you want, you can use VirtualBox, and in which case you just do vagrant up command. You don't have to do -- provider libvirt. Okay, so let's do that. It's going to bring up 3 virtual machines, 1 master node, 2 worker nodes, as you already know. So I'm going to pause the video here and come back when all the nodes are up and running, and then we can verify the cluster health. We'll deploy a sample pod and see how it works. Okay, so the vagrant up command completed, and you can see here there are lots and lots of outputs here, all verbose output. And don't worry about all these things that are in the red, highlighted in red color. So that's not an issue actually. Okay, so we have our cluster up and running. So the first thing to do is to copy the config, the admin config, Kubernetes config from the master node to our local machine. Right, so I'm gonna make the .kube directory under my home directory, and then I'm going to SAP root at 172.16.16.100. So that's the IP address of the master node, and we're going to copy the etc kubernetes admin.conf file to config under .kube directory that we just created. Okay, yes, and the password for the root account for all the nodes on all the nodes is kubeadmin. Okay, so that's copied. So now we should be able to run all our usual Kubernetes kubectl commands, right? So kubectl cluster info. So we have our cluster up and running. So that's a good sign. Kubectl get nodes. Okay, so version 1.1.1, 1 master, 2 worker nodes. All of them are ready. If I do -o right, you should be able to see additional information. The version of container DB are running. Ubuntu 22.04, and if I do kubectl get pods -a just to get an idea of the overall health of all the pods running here. So that's cool. So none of them I've restarted, which means they're all really good. So Calico, API server. All right, let's do a quick testing by deploying an Nginx pod, which I always do. kubectl create deploy Nginx -- image Nginx kubectl expose deploy Nginx port 80 type node port. I just want to quickly test the node port functionality because that's a good test. Because when you expose a deployment as a node port service, you should be able to access that pod or that service from any nodes, which means the networking between the nodes are actually working fine. Right, I don't have Metal LB or anything installed to test the load balancer type service, but let's do a minimal testing to make sure that it's actually working before merging this 1.31 back to the master branch. Alright, kubectl get on. So we have our pod that's running service and the node port is 32216. Let's copy that and do a curl and paste the node port. So now I'm sending the request to port 32216, which is the node port, via the kmaster actually. Okay, let's do that. Okay, so welcome to Nginx. The page is actually running. If I do kubectl get pods -o wide, you can see the pod is actually running on the kworker1 node, but we tried accessing through kmaster, and we are accessing it, which means the connectivity between the master node and kworker1 is fine. Let's do the same testing from the node itself, the kworker1, which is 101, and I can see that. And again, from the kworker2, which has the IP address 102, and we can access it. Cool. kubectl delete deploy service Nginx. kubectl get all, so everything is gone, right? So let's go back to Kubernetes. Right, I think that concludes this video, and I will shortly merge this pull request back to the master branch. And as I said, I will in my next video update the LXD provisioning scripts, bootstrap kube. Again, I'll do some refactoring here as well. So that's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed this video. I will see you all in my next video. Until then, keep learning and keep on learning. Bye-bye.